Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating story of one of the most recognizable coins from the United Kingdom, the Great Britain 2 pence coin, a small piece of copper-colored currency that carries decades of history, symbolism, and surprising collector interest. And although many people see this coin every day without thinking much about it, the truth is that the 2 pence coin represents an important chapter in the transformation of British money during the 20th century, when the country moved from a complicated old currency system into a modern decimal system that people use today. And to truly understand the 2 pence coin, we first need to go back to the late 1960s when the government of the United Kingdom decided it was time to simplify the national currency. Because for centuries Britain used a system based on pounds, shillings, and pence, where 1 pound equaled 20 shillings and each shilling equaled 12 pence, a structure that often confused visitors and even younger generations growing up within the country. And so after years of planning and public education, the historic change known as the decimal day finally arrived in 1971, marking the moment when Britain officially adopted decimal currency, meaning 1 pound would now equal 100 new pence. And with this transformation came a completely redesigned set of coins, including the new 1/2p, 1p, 2p, 5p, 10p, and 50p pieces, each created to help citizens transition smoothly into the new system while still maintaining elements of British tradition and national identity. And the 2 pence coin quickly became one of the most recognizable coins in everyday circulation because of its distinctive size and rich copper color, a color that originally came from its bronze composition made from copper, tin, and zinc, giving the coin durability while also creating a warm metallic tone that people could easily distinguish from other denominations. And the first versions of the coin carried a design created by the famous British sculptor Christopher Ironside, whose work defined the visual identity of Britain's decimal coins for an entire generation. And on the reverse side of the coin, he placed a beautifully detailed image of the badge of the Prince of Wales, featuring 3 ostrich feathers emerging from a coronet along with the German motto, Ich diene, which translates to, I serve. A historic emblem long associated with the heir to the British throne and widely recognized as a symbol of royal tradition, while the obverse side of the coin traditionally carried the portrait of the reigning monarch. And for most of the modern history of the 2 pence coin, that portrait has been that of Queen Elizabeth II, whose image appeared on British coins for more than 70 years in several evolving portraits as her reign progressed, each portrait reflecting a different stage of her life and the artistic style of the era in which it was created, making the coin not only a tool for commerce but also a visual timeline of British monarchy and national continuity. And beyond its artistic design, the 2 pence coin also became historically significant because it represented stability during a time when the country was modernizing rapidly, helping millions of people adapt to decimal currency while preserving familiar symbols of British heritage. And as decades passed, the coin continued to evolve, including changes in metal composition when rising copper prices made bronze coins expensive to produce, leading the Royal Mint to introduce copper-plated steel versions in the early 1990s while maintaining the same appearance so that the public would hardly notice the difference, a clever balance between economic practicality and visual tradition. And today the 2 pence coin remains an everyday part of life across the United Kingdom. Yet for collectors it offers something far more exciting because certain years, minting variations, and error coins have become surprisingly valuable, proving that even a small everyday coin can hold hidden treasures for those who take the time to study its history, design, and rarity within the broader story of British currency and the remarkable evolution of modern coinage. As the story of the Great Britain 2 pence coin continues, it becomes even more fascinating when we explore how the coin evolved through different decades while quietly reflecting the economic, political, and cultural changes taking place across the United Kingdom. Because coins are more than simple tools of payment, they are miniature historical documents that travel through millions of hands every year. And each small detail on their surface tells a story about the nation that produced them. And in the case of the 2 pence coin, this story is deeply connected with the work of the Royal Mint, the official institution responsible for producing British coins for more than 1,000 years, an organization that has continuously balanced tradition with innovation while ensuring that the country's currency remains secure, recognizable, and meaningful to the public. And when the decimal coins were first introduced in 1971, the 2 pence coin was noticeably larger and heavier than the one people use today, measuring about 25.9 millimeters in diameter and originally weighing 7.12 grams, making it one of the most substantial coins in everyday circulation, a design choice that helped people easily distinguish it from other denominations during the early days of decimal currency, when citizens were still learning the new system and needed visual and tactile cues to quickly identify coins in their pockets. And the bronze alloy used in the early years not only provided durability but also gave the coin its iconic deep copper color that collectors often associate with classic British coinage. and throughout the 1970s and 1980s millions of these coins were produced every year to meet demand, meaning that most dates from these decades remain very common today. Yet even within such large mintages, collectors have discovered subtle variations in die quality, luster, and strike strength that make certain examples more desirable than others, especially when preserved in uncirculated condition, because coins that escape the wear and tear of everyday use often display sharp details and original mint brilliance that reveal the beauty of the design in ways ordinary circulated pieces cannot. And another interesting aspect of the 2-pence coin is the evolution of the monarch's portrait on the obverse side. Since during the long reign of Queen Elizabeth II, several different official portraits were introduced over time, each created by a different artist to represent the Queen at various stages of her life, beginning with the youthful portrait designed by Arnold McKim in the late 1960s, followed by later portraits that gradually updated the image to reflect her aging appearance while maintaining the dignity and authority expected of royal coinage. And these changing portraits have become a fascinating area of study for collectors because they allow coins to be categorized not only by date but also by portrait type, effectively dividing the history of the 2-pence coin into artistic eras that correspond with different phases of modern British history. And while the reverse design featuring the Prince of Wales feathers remained unchanged for decades, the inscription around the coin experienced one of the most interesting textual updates in British coinage history, since early coins carried the wording "new pence" to help citizens distinguish the decimal coins from the old pre-decimal pennies still remembered by older generations. But by 1982 the transition was considered complete and the inscription was officially shortened to simply 2 pence, a small change that symbolized the end of the country's adjustment period and the full acceptance of the decimal system by the public. And this moment created a subtle but historically important dividing line between two types of 2-pence coins, those struck with the phrase "new pence" and those with the modern 2-pence wording, giving collectors another interesting category to explore when building date and variety sets. And over time the coin continued to remain a reliable part of daily transactions across Britain, appearing in shops, buses, vending machines, and countless everyday purchases, quietly supporting the economy while also carrying forward the artistic traditions and royal symbolism that define British coinage. And it is precisely this blend of ordinary usefulness and historical depth that makes the Great Britain 2-pence coin far more interesting than its modest value might suggest, because behind its copper surface lies a rich narrative of monetary reform, royal portraiture, and national identity that continues to unfold with every new generation of coins produced by the Royal Mint. As collectors and historians look deeper into the Great Britain 2-pence coin, the conversation naturally shifts toward the fascinating details that separate ordinary circulation pieces from the coins that attract real attention in the world of numismatics, because while billions of these coins have been produced since decimalization, certain years, minting anomalies, and historical transitions have created pieces that stand out in the eyes of collectors. And this is where the study of rarity, errors, and unusual varieties becomes especially exciting, since even a coin worth only 2 pence in everyday transactions can become a highly sought-after collectible if it possesses a distinctive feature that sets it apart from the standard design. And one of the most talked-about examples in this category is the famous 1983 2-pence coin that accidentally carried the older inscription "new pence" instead of the updated wording 2 pence, a mistake that occurred shortly after the official change in 1982 when the mint updated the reverse legend. And because only a small number of coins were struck with the incorrect wording before the error was discovered, these pieces have become extremely desirable among collectors who specialize in modern British coinage, sometimes selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition and authentication. And this single variety demonstrates how a simple wording detail can transform a common coin into a remarkable collectible item, illustrating the importance of careful observation when examining everyday coins. And beyond this famous example, there are also several lesser-known varieties that collectors search for, including coins with die cracks, off-center strikes, and subtle differences in lettering alignment that occurred during the minting process at the Royal Mint. Because even in highly controlled modern production environments, small mechanical imperfections can occasionally produce unique coins that slip into circulation before being detected. And when these anomalies are discovered years later, they often become prized finds among hobbyists who enjoy the thrill of searching through pocket change or coin rolls for hidden rarities. And another aspect that influences the value of 2-pence coins is their metal composition, because the earliest issues from 1971 through 1992 were struck in bronze, giving them their rich copper appearance and relatively heavy weight, while later coins were produced using copper-plated steel to reduce production costs as global copper prices increased. And this change created an interesting distinction between earlier and later coins, since bronze coins are non-magnetic while the newer steel-based versions are magnetic, meaning collectors can quickly identify the type of metal simply by using a small magnet. A simple test that reveals how economic considerations can influence coin design and production methods over time, and the story becomes even more intriguing when we consider how condition dramatically affects the market value of these coins, because coins that have circulated for decades often show scratches, fading, and worn details, while coins preserved directly from mint sets can retain their original luster and sharpness, making them far more desirable to collectors who value visual quality as much as rarity. And professional grading services sometimes certify these coins with detailed numerical grades that indicate their state of preservation, allowing buyers and sellers to communicate about quality in a standardized way within the global coin market. And while the 2 pence coin may appear humble at first glance, its journey through British monetary history reveals layers of complexity involving mint technology, economic change, and collector enthusiasm, all connected to the broader narrative of British currency and its evolution during the modern era, a story that continues today as new generations of coins and collectors keep the legacy of British numismatics alive under the authority of the Royal Mint, ensuring that even the smallest denominations remain an important part of both everyday commerce and the fascinating world of coin collecting. As interest in the Great Britain 2 pence coin continues to grow among collectors around the world, the discussion naturally moves toward the specific dates, minting variations, and subtle characteristics that can influence a coin's desirability and long-term value, because even though the coin was produced in extremely large quantities for everyday use across the United Kingdom, careful examination reveals that not all examples are equal in the eyes of numismatists, and understanding these differences requires a closer look at the minting process, the historical context of production, and the details that specialists search for when evaluating coins for their collections. And one of the most important elements collectors consider is the condition of the coin, since a 2 pence coin that has spent decades circulating through shops, markets, buses, and vending machines will naturally show signs of wear such as softened lettering, scratches, and a darker patina from years of handling. While coins preserved in mint sets or carefully stored collections may retain the bright copper color, sharp edges, and reflective luster that they possessed when they were first produced, making these uncirculated examples significantly more attractive and valuable to collectors who seek the highest possible quality, and this emphasis on condition has created a strong market for high-grade examples of otherwise common dates, demonstrating that preservation can be just as important as rarity. When determining value in the coin collecting world, and beyond condition, another key factor that fascinates collectors is the evolution of the obverse portrait featured on the coin, since the image of Queen Elizabeth II appeared in several distinct artistic versions during her long reign, beginning with a youthful portrait created by Arnold Machin, which showed the Queen wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a design that became one of the most recognizable images in modern coinage. And as the decades passed, this portrait was eventually replaced by updated versions created by different artists to reflect the Queen's changing appearance while maintaining the traditional dignity expected on national currency, and these transitions have created natural categories within the series that collectors often organize into portrait types, making it possible to build sets that illustrate the artistic evolution of British coin design over time. And while the reverse design, featuring the Prince of Wales feathers, remained remarkably consistent, its detailed engraving still attracts admiration for its balance of elegance and symbolism, representing centuries of royal heritage associated with the title held by the heir to the British throne. And every time a 2 pence coin changes hands in everyday transactions, it quietly carries this symbol of national tradition with it, connecting modern economic activity with the long history of the British monarchy and its cultural identity. And of course, no discussion of the 2 pence coin would be complete without acknowledging the role played by the Royal Mint, the historic institution responsible for producing the coin and ensuring its quality, security, and consistent design. An organization whose roots stretch back more than 1,000 years and whose expertise has helped shape not only British coinage but also the currency of many nations around the world, and through its careful production methods, the Royal Mint ensures that each coin meets precise specifications so that it functions smoothly within vending machines, cash registers, and banking systems across the country. Yet despite this high level of precision, occasional minting variations and small imperfections still appear, providing collectors with exciting opportunities to discover unusual pieces that stand out from ordinary circulation coins. And it is this combination of everyday familiarity and hidden complexity that makes the Great Britain 2 pence coin such a fascinating subject for collectors and historians alike, because behind its simple denomination lies a story of technological innovation, royal symbolism, artistic craftsmanship, and economic adaptation that continues to unfold as new coins are minted and old ones gradually disappear from circulation, reminding us that even the smallest pieces of currency can carry remarkable historical significance and unexpected collector value for those who take the time to study them closely. As the exploration of the Great Britain 2 pence coin continues, the discussion naturally moves toward the broader impact that this small coin has had on the culture of coin collecting and the everyday economic life of the United Kingdom, because even though its face value is only 2 pence, the coin has played a surprisingly significant role in modern British currency and remains one of the most recognizable pieces of money used in daily transactions across the country. And when collectors analyze the long timeline of this coin, they often focus not only on specific years or minting varieties, but also on the way the coin reflects technological progress and changing economic conditions within Britain itself, since the production of coins must constantly adapt to the realities of metal prices, manufacturing efficiency, and public demand for reliable currency. And one of the most important examples of this adaptation occurred during the early 1990s when the Royal Mint made a major decision to change the metal composition of the 2 pence coin, because the rising global cost of copper had made the original bronze alloy increasingly expensive to produce on a large scale, and to solve this issue the Mint introduced a new version made from copper-plated steel beginning in 1992, a change that allowed the coin to maintain its familiar appearance while significantly reducing production costs. Yet this transition also created an interesting distinction that collectors often enjoy demonstrating, because the earlier bronze coins are completely non-magnetic while the newer copper-plated steel coins will respond to a magnet, making it easy for anyone to quickly identify which type they are holding. And this small scientific detail has become a fun educational moment for many beginner collectors who are just discovering how even minor differences in metal composition can reveal the economic decisions behind coin production. And as the decades progressed, the design of the 2 pence coin also remained a visual record of the British monarchy, particularly through the portraits of Queen Elizabeth II that appeared on the obverse side for most of the coin's modern history, each portrait representing a different era of her reign and reflecting the artistic style preferred by the designers responsible for updating the nation's coinage. And these portrait changes created natural milestones within the series that collectors use to categorize coins, since each new portrait effectively marks a transition from one historical period to another, allowing a single set of coins to illustrate more than half a century of British royal imagery. And beyond the portraits, another notable evolution occurred in 2008 when the United Kingdom introduced a redesigned reverse system for many of its circulating coins, transforming them into a unified shield design that forms the royal shield of arms when the coins are arranged together, a creative concept that modernized the appearance of British coinage while still preserving traditional symbolism. And within this system, the 2 pence coin displays the lower portion of the shield containing elements that represent England and Northern Ireland, a design that subtly reminds users that the coins of the United Kingdom reflect the identity of several nations united under one monarchy. And although many people use these coins without thinking about their artistic meaning, collectors often appreciate the way such design choices connect everyday currency with national heritage and historical storytelling. And over time, the continued circulation of the 2 pence coin has also made it an accessible starting point for new collectors who may begin their journey simply by examining the coins in their pocket change, gradually learning to recognize dates, portrait styles, metal compositions, and design differences that reveal the hidden complexity behind even the most common coins. And this accessibility is one of the reasons why the study of modern British coins remains so popular around the world, because anyone can begin exploring the history of currency simply by paying closer attention to the coins they already possess, turning an ordinary object of commerce into a gateway toward understanding economics, art, and national identity. And when viewed through this broader perspective, the Great Britain 2 pence coin becomes far more than a minor denomination of money. It becomes a small but powerful symbol of the evolution of modern British currency, reflecting the balance between tradition and innovation that continues to define the work of the Royal Mint and the ongoing story of the United Kingdom's coinage system. As we reach the final stage of exploring the Great Britain 2 pence coin, it becomes clear that this small copper-colored coin carries a surprisingly rich story that stretches far beyond its modest face value, because coins are not simply tools for buying and selling goods, but also enduring historical objects that quietly record the political, artistic, and economic evolution of a nation. And the 2 pence coin is a perfect example of how everyday currency can preserve decades of national history within a single design that millions of people handle every day without necessarily realizing the deeper meaning behind it. And when collectors examine the coin closely, they often appreciate the remarkable balance between tradition and modernization that has defined British coinage throughout the modern era, especially through the careful work of the Royal Mint, an institution that has been responsible for producing coins for the British Crown for over 1,000 years and continues to combine advanced minting technology with historical symbolism in order to create coins that are both secure and culturally meaningful. And through this long tradition, the Royal Mint has ensured that each 2 pence coin meets precise standards of size, weight, and durability so that it can function reliably within the financial system while still maintaining the visual heritage expected from British currency. And perhaps one of the most fascinating aspects of the coin is the way it reflects the long reign of Queen Elizabeth II, whose portrait appeared on British coinage for more than 7 decades and whose image evolved through several artistic interpretations over time, allowing collectors today to study the progression of royal portraiture simply by examining different years of the same coin denomination. And these portraits not only document the passage of time but also highlight the skill of the sculptors who designed them, artists who carefully crafted each detail so that the monarch's likeness would appear dignified and recognizable even on the small surface of a circulating coin, and when combined with a distinctive reverse design featuring the Prince of Wales feathers and the motto associated with the heir to the British throne, the coin becomes a powerful symbol of British royal heritage that links everyday financial activity with centuries of monarchical tradition. Yet beyond its symbolism, the 2 pence coin has also become an accessible entry point for new collectors entering the world of numismatics, because unlike many rare or ancient coins that require large financial investments, modern British coins can often be collected directly from circulation, allowing enthusiasts to search for interesting dates, metal variations, and minting anomalies in their own change, transforming an ordinary habit of spending money into an exciting treasure hunt where the possibility of discovering an unusual coin adds a sense of adventure to everyday life. And this accessibility has helped maintain strong interest in modern British coin collecting across the world, particularly as online marketplaces and collector communities make it easier than ever to buy, sell, and study coins from different countries. And as the years continue to pass, the story of the 2 pence coin will keep evolving alongside the British economy and the changing technology used to produce currency, reminding us that even the smallest denomination can carry historical importance, artistic beauty, and collector fascination. And for those who take the time to examine it closely, the Great Britain 2 pence coin reveals itself as far more than a simple piece of metal. It becomes a compact historical artifact that connects modern society with the traditions of the past while continuing to circulate through the hands of millions of people every day, quietly preserving the legacy of British coinage for future generations of collectors and historians to discover and appreciate. And that is exactly what makes studying coins so rewarding, because within even the most ordinary currency lies a story waiting to be uncovered, a story of design, heritage, and national identity that turns a small coin into a remarkable piece of living history. And with that final insight into the history, design, and collecting significance of the Great Britain 2 pence coin, we conclude our journey through one of the most familiar yet surprisingly fascinating coins in modern British currency. And for collectors, historians, and curious viewers alike, the message remains simple. Sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest stories, and learning about them opens a window into the past while enriching our understanding of the money we use every day. Thanks for watching.